listening to the best of the Martha Zoller Show. To hear the full show each day, tune in to AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN or log in to accesswdun.com and click the Listen Live button from 9 to 11 Monday through Friday. It's always great to talk to my next guest, Mike Collins, and this Saturday in Covington, there is going to be a surf and turf at 4 p.m., and I'll be saying a few words there, and you'll get to see Mike Collins. You can go to Mike Collins GA to find out more, but we're welcoming to the program right now Mike Collins, the memer-in-chief. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Martha. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So we're at 102 days now of the Trump administration. And, I watched a Georgia undecided voter. Her name was Mary, and she was on News Nation, and African-American woman. And she said, you know what? I'm going to give the president some grace because he's taking care of immigration, which I care about. People didn't get due process to come into the country. They shouldn't get due process to go out. And I'm paying less at the gas pump and at the grocery store. So I'm willing to give him some grace. I kind of like Mary.
Well, it's amazing. I think that the American people trust President Trump a whole lot more than what they trust Congress or any other federal bureaucracy that's up here. And they also saw what he did during his first administration, and they want that back. You know, and you go back and look, we even had tariffs on China back during Trump's first administration. And they didn't raise any prices on the American people. And people have been asking me a lot. I don't know where you wanted to start off with, but you just take these tariffs, for instance, Martha. I'm in the trucking business. When I give you a rate, that's my rate. And things happen throughout the year, but I don't keep going back and saying, well, this is up, or, my tires went up, or we had to do this to the equipment. That's just part of doing business. And the other fact is that a lot of these countries understand, not just China, but they understand that there's a big reason that people left this country from a business standpoint. And that's because they were being regulated and taxed to the point where they had to go do something else or go somewhere else. And so President Trump, being the businessman he is, he can handle more than one thing at a time. And there is a multi-pronged approach going on up here, from everything from looking at waste, fraud, and abuse to getting these regulations and these taxes under control through this budget reconciliation that we're doing to reining in these federal agencies. And, it is a neat time to be in Congress. This is history making up here.
So over the weekend, some of your colleagues were sitting in on the Capitol steps, which I think is hysterical because I remember the original sit-ins. Members of Congress have the keys to the door. They don't need to be sitting in. No one's keeping them out. Yeah. The problem is that we've got this situation where, as it turned out, DOJ has cut about $150 billion. I'm a little disappointed in that, but I'm also very happy about it. But $150 billion on a $7.4 trillion budget is a rounding error. And they are acting like we have taken food out of the mouths of babies and we are taking hospital beds out from under seniors because all they have is scare tactics.
Yeah, and the DOJ Commission is looking at the federal agency itself. How do we make them more productive and more efficient? If you can make the agency productive and efficient, they're going to save money
every year. Every year.
And that the number one thing that I have said up here time and time, and I think I've said it on your show so many times, what we see up here in these hearings just doesn't make sense. There's no common sense, and these agencies have not had to answer to anybody for years because Congress doesn't do its job. When Congress does not operate under regular order and pass budgets and pass appropriations and just hands out checks, then they don't have to answer to anybody. We may hold the oversight hearing, but we're still not going to rein them in because the only way you rein these people in is through the pocketbook. And that's the power of the purse. And that's where the DOJ Commission is just saying, hey, here's some stuff over here. Here's some stuff over here that looks like you could do. And you're going to see a lot of rescinding from the Trump administration. They're already doing it.
Yeah, as I understand it, you can take the Doge report on any particular agency. You can add some language to it on the top, and then you can pass it as a rescission.
Yeah, and that's where the administration is asking for these rescissions, and Congress is going to go ahead and get that done so that we can get this money back to the American people. So you tackled that with the budget reconciliation that is going on right now, and we should have the budget reconciliation should be voted on and passed out of the House before Memorial Day.
So, let's talk about the big, beautiful bill, because here's the way I look at it. Number one, I hate we keep calling it extending the tax cuts, because these are the tax rates we've been paying for the last 7 years. And so it's an extension of what people are already used to paying. So that's number one, what's got to be done. Number two, all these other promises about no taxes on tips, and all of that has to be rolled into there too. So you think it can be passed by Memorial Day? Scott Bessent today or yesterday said he thinks it's going to be 4th of July before it's completely passed. So are you thinking out of the House by the Memorial Day and then on his desk by 4th of July?
I think that would be an incredible 4th of July.
Yes.
For the president to be sitting there ready to sign that and make sure that the American people are getting pounded with a $4.7 trillion tax increase. And that's the other thing I don't understand, why the Democrat Party are opposed to it. They're opposed to the child tax care credit getting cut in half. I mean, or being cut in half. They want that because if we don't pass this, that's exactly what's going to happen. You know, they keep harping about that it's only a tax cut for the rich. Well, no, it's not. You know, that goes, the child tax care credit goes to the lower income people. There's so many parts to this thing that the American people, if we don't pass it, you talk about inflation, you talk about a business industry, an industry that's going to be in disarray, from everything from accelerated appreciation to R&D. It's going to be tough, but we'll pass it. It's going to pass. And I feel confident it's going to pass and make the Trump tax cuts policies are going to be permanent.
And it needs to be. It needs to be. This business of these temporary tax cuts are just ridiculous. So it needs to be.
Yeah.
Now,
either you're for it or you're against it, you know?
That's right. That's right. So in the last few days, one of the executive orders the president has signed has been about truckers speaking in English. And I have watched a lot of video about this. And what I'm hearing from truckers, you know, you hear from the left, oh, this is racist, this is this is that. What I'm seeing from truckers, and you're in the trucking business, is they have been begging for this for years because it makes the roads safer.
Yeah, well, all you got to do is look at accident rates. Accident rates have risen 75% because people don't know how to speak English or read the signs or read English. And you want somebody behind the wheel of an 80,000-pound vehicle? You know, and here's the kicker. What are you going to do to them? Then that's the way they look at it. What you going to do to me if I have an accident? I mean, I'll just go home. So, yeah, we need to make sure we get these folks off the road. You know, in addition to what Georgia did there with the tort reform, which we're looking at up here on the federal level, but that was we're going to have to go back and codify his executive orders. Right now, you know, he's passing a lot of executive orders. We're passing the budget reconciliation, and we're also, Martha, the budget resolution that we passed was the budget for 2026, and we're also doing appropriations right now too. So we should get our appropriation bills out.
You know, you and I have been talking about getting back on regular order. If we're going to run this government like a business, and I understand there are things the government has to do even if they don't have the money, okay? But if you don't manage the rest of the money well, then you're going to put yourself in that situation. So that's why we got to get back on regular order. Now, I'm going to see you on Saturday. I'm looking forward to it. Are we going to hear anything special from you on Saturday?
Oh boy, you know, Martha, I enjoy where I'm at. I enjoy what I'm doing. I understand how critical that seat is, and I understand how critical we need to make sure that Brian Kemp runs for that seat. He can win that race. We need to make sure that Governor Kemp is indeed wanting to run for this thing, and we'll get behind whoever President Trump picks or supports or whoever can win this race. And, I learned a long time ago, you never say never about anything.
That's right.
But
I
Governor Kemp could do this.
Well, and the good news I'm hearing is that obviously if Kemp's the only one in the race, that's one thing. But that the Trump administration kind of learned their lesson from 2022, that maybe they got into primaries too soon, and that the better approach is to kind of be a little hands-off on the primaries and be a little more involved later on. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I'm hearing that, and you know how things can change, but that's what I'm hearing from folks.
We have the opportunity to take this seat back.
Yes.
We do. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that we do that and we send John Ossoff home. He's been one of the worst U.S. senators I've ever seen, especially to try to represent Georgia. And he doesn't represent Georgia values. And so we're going to get behind whoever runs for this thing. I want to make sure that whoever runs for it can win. And and I know right now that's Governor Kemp's. That is his to win, to win easy.
Hey, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Mike Collins, anything else you want to tell folks before we say goodbye?
You know what, Martha? It is an honor to be up here. I know our approval ratings are in the bottom run, but it is an honor and a privilege to serve the people of Georgia. We've had some wild success. I can't even explain it. But we're going to work hard. We're continuing to work hard. We got some other things out there, and we're going to make sure at the end of the day that we get this place back on track. We get our country back on the right track, and make these the Trump tax cuts permanent, and get our energy independence back. Make sure that we keep that border secure down there and send all these illegal criminals home. So it's some good times up here.
Well, and I'm looking for an announcement on India and a deal with India, because to me that is the Alka-Seltzer to the problems we have with China. So I'm looking forward to that, and I look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Yes, ma'am. Look forward to it, too. Thank you.
It's where North Georgia comes to talk. It's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Bill Crane is here with me today. And, Bill, how are you, first of all?
Well, Martha, I'm sitting outside my cancer specialist, getting ready to return to take-home chemo, so 10 more to go, but I'm feeling pretty good. A little bragging today. This is the third day since the chemo Monday, and I'm told that 2 days after you get done, you kind of, but nothing major, a little, just heavy-eyed.
Well, we are so happy for you that you're on this journey and you're doing well. I mean, I've been there with my husband, and it's not easy, but you're gonna do great on the other side.
I feel so much good thought, warm prayer that are coming from people, some of whom I haven't seen since elementary school, and I can feel it.
Well, and you have a great attitude, and every surgeon, every doctor will tell you that they don't know what the percent is, but the people that go into this with a good, positive attitude do better.
I'm not going to let some little microscopic cells take me out. I'll put
That's
it that
right.
way.
That's right. Listen, so a couple of questions, because you heard that clip that we played on the way in, and it is true. When you look at the Doge website, they've cut $150 billion. Okay, $150 billion on a $7.4 trillion budget is a rounding error. And Democrats are running around, and some media acting like hair on fire that we have cut every important thing in the federal government. It's just too much to bear.
No, I was glad actually to see it scale back a bit, because the original announced goal was $1.5 trillion of a $7.5 billion budget. And I was concerned that if they'd gone that deep, we would have cut into some bone. I was worried about both healthcare spending and national defense. But it does appear what we primarily, there have been some readjustments. I do think some of it went a little too fast, and I would have liked to have seen kind of test case, pick an agency, pick someplace like the Postal Service that we know is in real serious trouble, and fix it first and then build a model. But I realize they're kind of working against the time clock of the midterms, and also the time that Elon Musk could give to this process. But, some of these things they've identified, particularly in terms of foreign aid, were just unconscionable, and they needed to go. Some of the domestic spending. I like what Marco Rubio is doing with kind of a detailed analysis of what he's got, the foreign and domestic, and going at it not all at once, but with an objective with 80,000 employees of taking down that headcount by 15% and getting out of some missions that really don't have a lot to do with statecraft that have kind of mission creeped at the State Department over the last 25 to 30 years.
And I tell you, Donald Trump, he's gone on to The Atlantic. He's gone to Time Magazine. He's gone to ABC News. He's out almost every day answering questions. I mean, the guy is transparent. I mean, you cannot say he's doing this in the dark of night. He is transparent, and he's answering every question. I haven't seen him not answer a question.
I don't always agree with what he says, and neither do you, but
not.
I also want to give a commendation to Caroline Leavitt. I think she's the strongest press secretary I've seen since Pierre Salinger. Excuse me, I got my Pierre's wrong, but during the Kennedy administration, I'm forgetting his name.
No, you're right. It's crazy. But listen, I had this thought last night, and I was talking to my friend Greg Bluestein, and he said he was going to steal it. And I said, when Trump is the most reasonable sounding person in the room, when you look at the kinds of things they were saying on the steps of the Capitol this weekend, elected Democrats, the kind of things that Governor Pritzker was saying about we can't give a Republican 1 minute of peace. And look, Bill, you and I criticized this when our side was saying it after the 2020 election.
No,
okay?
Incivility is wrong. It doesn't work. You can be a grenade thrower. We've seen that success with Newt Gingrich and others. But then when you get in, you got to get something done. And I think if the Democrats run in the midterms, basically just blow it all up and don't give Trump an inch, and it will backfire.
I agree. Because I'm jokingly calling it. I'm sure I'm going to get a call from Senator Ossoff because I have spoken with him about this because I don't talk about people that I know unless I've told them what I'm going to say or that I'm disappointed with them. And I have told him, and this idea of campaign Ossoff versus governing Ossoff, I know there's a difference always, but the chasm seems to be huge between the guy
particularly with his direct mail.
Yes,
but particularly with what he's saying to the base to try to make sure he doesn't have any opposition in his own party, and he does. He's got some people in his own party that are upset with him, so he's got to get past that first. We haven't talked. I don't know where you think Brian Kemp is, but I don't think he's getting in that Senate race, and I haven't placed the call yet, and I will, so I won't say it on the air. But there's somebody I think who's running for governor who might make a better Senate candidate.
Yeah, and I think there's also a lot of opportunities for things. He's not going to make any decisions until after Memorial Day, is what I've heard, and he doesn't have to. He's got the money. Whatever he decides, whether he's going to be involved in 2022 as the head of the Republican Governors Association, or if he's going to decide to turn his federal PAC towards a Senate race, he can get in anytime he wants to. Okay, so you've got this situation where he's really holding all the cards. I agree with you. I think he's less likely to get in because there's a lot of reasons. There's no role for Marty. It's really no fun being a senator after you've been a governor.
Yeah, Jared just got married, and the other two girls are getting lined up to do that. That isn't fun to do weddings in Washington. I can think of a dozen reasons.
There's a dozen reasons.
Family focused.
Yes, yeah. And he doesn't need, and I think he'd really rather be the president of the University of Georgia if you want to know the truth.
Yeah, and he likes executive positions. He was in the legislature. He didn't really love the state.
And he's always owned his own businesses. He's always been the boss. You know what I mean? So anyway, but I will support, and I know that I'm going to be up moderating a GOP office panel on tomorrow night in Cornelia, and I know Debbie Dooley's going to be there, and she's pushing real hard for Kemp to get in. The base wants Kemp to get in because they feel like it'll be a slam dunk.
Debbie Dooley is now speaking nicely to Brian Kemp. My God.
Yes. You know what? I had my first conversation with her yesterday in a very long time. And not that we were ever, because we did Tea Party together way back when. We've been on the same side of issues. We've been on different sides of issues. And that's just it's the way it is. But we're eventually going to all get back together again. And that's what I really like to preach to Republicans about this. And then the Democrats right now, I understand their base is telling them they want them to fight. Now, here's the problem with the base, and you tell me if I'm wrong. If you're involved at this point in time before an election, you are like in the top 10% of people in the party, and you're going to vote no matter what. You're going to be out there, and you're important because that's where
you're one of the 17% that's going to show up in the primary and vote.
Yeah,
and you're going to be probably a donor and have a yard sign out front.
Absolutely, and you're important for getting volunteers and donors and all those reasons. But there's 83% that hadn't even started paying attention yet, and they don't like the noise. Those people, if they were noisy people,
they don't
they'd
want
be there.
The commercials, they don't want the mailboxes
That's right.
filled already. We just got, in their minds, we just got done with November. And
That's
we
right.
Did. It's 100 days ago.
Yes, it hadn't even been 6 months since we went to the polls in November. So that's what I think people forget about, those real people. And I learned that when I ran for Congress, Bill, that when I was canvassing neighborhoods in South Hall and in other places, you would not believe the number of people in neighborhoods that voted Republican that hadn't even thought about it yet. They hadn't even thought about it
We
yet.
haven't even had qualifying for the municipal elections that are 2025 yet.
Yes.
And, it is sort of a never-ending cycle. But, I think some people would like some downtime.
So did you watch the ABC interview, or at least parts of it?
I've seen parts of it. I intend to watch all of it. And I do agree with you. I admire that he's, stepping into what he knows is going to be kind of hostile territory and holding his ground. If he could just smile a little more and, kind of like the Bill Maher's discussion, show that because we know he has that charming side. Let the American people see it. He doesn't have to be bombastic.
At the Easter egg roll, you saw it. I mean, he was out working with the kids. He was doing things. He was funny. He was out there, and you see him in certain arenas that way. But the media doesn't report that. They only report the nasty side.
We see Rally Trump and the strange little dance he does. But he can create those opportunities. He's got those White House briefings. If he just stepped into the room some of those times when Caroline Levitt's at the podium, I just think we knew that side of John Kennedy. We knew, we knew in the later years of Nixon not only had a foul mouth, but he had a sense of humor. I just think the people, he's got a really strong chief of staff. I think you and I would agree on that. And Ms. Walz needs to push him out there and let America see some of that charming side. I mean, even when you saw the conversation at the Pope's funeral between he and President Zelensky, that one-on-one, he's got a charm there, and the American people need to see that.
And, that was one of the things, too, that at the cabinet meetings, which now, Fox carries them, but a lot of other people don't care. C-SPAN maybe does, too. But he's that person in those cabinet meetings. He's very magnanimous in the cabinet meetings. He goes around. He's very Socratic.
And when's the last president who let their cabinet meetings have a TV camera?
I can't remember.
Again,
I can't remember.
Event, but not every time, and not when they're signing executive order. Yeah, I think they've been very transparent.
Absolutely. Bill Crane, we wish you the best. We're praying for you every day, and we're so glad you're back with us.
Take care.
Putting the talk in news talk. It's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Senator Drew Echols is joining me today, and Drew has had a very interesting first year in the Georgia Senate, and he got kind of known for some of his outlandish outfits that he wore to the legislature, but they all looked great. And but he also was honored this weekend at the 9th District GOP, so we wanted to talk a little bit about that. Drew, how are you?
Good morning, Martha. Good morning. How are you?
Isn't it interesting, though, how people, the way I always look at it with people is we're going to be working back together on things. We might be different on this issue or that issue, but if we're conservatives and we're Republicans, we're going to be back together eventually.
Absolutely. Listen, that's one of the things. When I ran, I talked about it over and over and over again, that I just don't think that you can govern looking one step in front of you. I think that you got to be looking farther out there, 20 steps, 100 steps, because those people that you're getting crossways with today, you're going to need them tomorrow, and they're going to have a good idea tomorrow or next week, and you're going to be supportive of it. So, that's kind of how I want to operate. I have, my granddaddy, a lot of people consider him a visionary in the ag industry, and he never looked right in front of him. I mean, he looked out there. He was a forward thinker, and I think that's how we have to govern. Also, I'm not talking about being a progressive. I'm talking about living to fight another day and things like that we got to work together.
Well, and you're right about your grandfather. Not only was he a visionary, but he was a really good person who knew how to maintain relationships. And That's what it's really all about.
That's right. So, yeah, I did learn a lot this year down at the Capitol. I am going to have to, go back to those outfits. Yet there were two kind of outlandish outfits. Those were the last week, okay? The rest of them were very dignified, and, they were the navy blue or gray. With So, anyway, I didn't want to embarrass my constituents up here in the 49th.
No, I thought they looked great. But I want to talk to you a little bit about, before we get to the 9th District GOP, you mentioned about you having being able to look a lot of steps ahead. And today's the 100th day of the Trump administration. And I think that one thing we haven't seen in a long time in federal government is actually planning ahead, looking ahead. And that's what this is right now. We're taking care of the immediate problems, which is the immigration, shutting down the border, regardless of what you think about legal immigration, regardless of what you think about how we need to do better on work visas and all of that sort of thing. If you've got 2 million people a year coming across that we don't know who they are, that's a problem. And I think that's a problem everybody agreed on.
That's right. I mean, my mind goes to the most simplest of things. When we have a leak up here on a water line at the farm, we fix the leak, right? You don't go put in a whole new water line. You got to fix the leak first.
That's right.
And then worry about the water line. So that's the kind of things I'm talking about. And I think your Republicans in the state of Georgia. I told you at the Sonny Dye interview. It's a hard-working group of individuals who a lot of them do think outside the box. A lot of them are very accomplished businessmen and businesswomen, and that's what I like about it. I like the fact that so many people. It's a very diverse group of thinkers.
So you were honored this weekend by the 9th District GOP.
Yeah, I went to the gala. All the events this weekend were held up at Unicoi, and I went to the gala Friday night. I got the distinguished legislator of the 9th District. So I was very much appreciative of that. I told you 100 times, I think, this time last year. I was just going to go work hard. And unfortunately, every single morning, they didn't ask the senator from the 49th what he wanted to do that day. A lot of days I got told what to do. But listen, I worked hard, and I think I gained the respect of my colleagues. I know I respect all of them. And just to work hard, to keep your head down and do what you say you're going to do. I think that's the important, don't wobble on them. Don't get scared. Do what you say you're going to do. Give them your word and stick with it, and just work hard for the party and for the cause. I think that's very much how we operate.
I'm glad you mentioned the party, because the Republican Party's been through a lot since 2020, and I think we've had a lot of factions. We've had a lot of things going on. But what I'm seeing in both the Hall County Republican Party and the 9th District GOP is that we're getting back to that. We're all in this together. We have a big tent. You don't have to be one kind of Republican to be a part of this group. And I think that's the right way, because we're going to need every vote, not only in your next election, but in every election. We're going to need every vote to be able to get our agenda through.
That's right. And I'll use this example a lot. Listen, I am not, Governor Kemp has not asked me to speak on his behalf, nor has President Trump. But I think if you think about mine and your friend, Secretary Loeffler, who runs the Small Business Association now, she came into politics as basically a nobody, right? And Governor Kemp brought her in. And Governor Kemp and President Trump, they've not always been on the same page. But Senator Loeffler, or Secretary Loeffler, and Governor Kemp are still very, very good friends. And clearly, President Trump has the utmost respect for Secretary Loeffler. I mean, you don't just get those appointments because you're rich. You don't just get those appointments. Right. You get those appointments because you're capable. And,
there's a lot more rich people given to politics than there are appointments. So that's not
That's right. So I use that as an example. I mean, look, both of those men have complete confidence in Secretary Loeffler, and I think that's just an example of working together. And there's a lot more common ground out there than there is divisiveness.
Well, and she's such a great example because she threaded that needle beautifully. Okay,
that's right.
Where she lost and I mean, she didn't want it. She loved being a senator. She worked as hard as she could work. She lost that election, but she didn't take her ball and go home. She created that organization, Greater Georgia, which is still going on, by the way, that is doing the kinds of things that we need to do to get grassroots voters out. And she worked hard to get conservative voters out. And she didn't ask them, are you a card-carrying Republican Party member or not? She wanted to know, are you a conservative voter and how will you vote? And so I think that she is a great example of how to lose gracefully, you know?
That's right. That's right. And to keep on working for the greater good. I do want to give a shout out. I text you. Man, it was almost embarrassing. It made me feel good about my county. I was very, very proud of our folks, that we had so many people get elected to leadership, from Hall County, from the GOP. Rich Elsarelli, who's the chairman here in Hall County, he got the first vice chairman. Cooper Whitmire, the Young Republicans chairman, he got the second vice chair. Then on the Georgia GOP State Committee, we had Rich Cooper, Chip Price, and Garrison Bennett. So we're sitting here talking about two guys that are in their 20s that got elected to the state GOP board, who are definitely leaders here in the party and in the county. So just extremely proud of them. Whitney Pimentel, so she's down in the 7th, and so is Mary Beth Kennedy. Whitney got the assistant secretary. Mary Beth Kennedy and Tom Talbot got on the state committee. So, I mean, Hall County very, very well represented on the state committee. I don't know how much time we got in this segment, but I'd love to tell you about these awards they got also. Was the part that was almost embarrassing on Friday night. Our people work hard, and we had great turnout. I will tell you that the Hall County GOP, they're reaching out to minority voters. They're just working extremely hard, doing all the things, not just out there, waving flags or putting up signs, but they're doing a lot of behind-the-scenes work, too, within the community. So it makes me proud. Rachel Farmer got a Rising Star Award. Like I mentioned, I got the Distinguished Legislator Award. The Best Service Program of the Year went to the Hall County Republican Party. The Outstanding County Party Award went to Hall County. The Distinguished Horatio Alger Award, who is a former leader, that award went to Cooper Whitmire. Rich Elsarelli got the Outstanding Pace Setter Award. I mean, I think they won 5 out of 8 awards. I was sitting out, when they were calling out the awards, I was like putting my head down on the table because there was a lot of people there who were not winning. So just shout out to those folks for working so hard during these cycles.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just a quick plug, on Thursday, May the 1st at the Cornelia Community House, I am going to be moderating the 9th District Republican Party Georgia GOP Officer Forum. So all the people that are running for Georgia GOP offices are going to be there at 6 o'clock on Thursday night, and I'll be moderating. So there's a lot of opportunities. If you're thinking about getting involved, there's a lot of opportunities to get involved right now.
That's right. That's exactly right. Hall County's led for a long time, going back to the electeds, the business community, our radio host. She leads in all facets. So, I think we got a lot of good things in Hall County, and I think we're only getting better.
Absolutely. Senator Drew Echols, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Martha.
To hear the full versions of last week's Martha Zoller shows, go to the podcast page at accesswdun.com, and you can follow me on social media at Martha Zoller.